original Resident Evil on PlayStation was a huge success that defined the survival horror genre. The sequel, Resident Evil 2, was a monster hit that solidified the series as a bona fide franchise and one of the video game staples of the 90s. But before the decade would come to an end, and the millennium for that matter, there would be one more sequel to come out for the PS1, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, although this was not intended to be the direct sequel. While Nemesis was in development, there was another RE game in the works that would eventually be released on the Dreamcast called Resident Evil Code Veronica. This was originally meant to be Resident Evil 3, but the decision was made to have all the mainline sequential numbered games be exclusive to the PlayStation, so Nemesis, which was originally intended as a spin-off, became Resident Evil 3 by default, even though Code Veronica would get a PS2 port anyway, and Nintendo would sign off on a proper exclusive deal to have all Resident Evil games going forward, so it didn't fucking matter in the end anyway. So since Nemesis was originally slated as a kind of side project, it's not nearly as robust as its predecessors. RE1 had 2 different campaigns with either Chris or Jill, both of which had various paths that would lead to different cutscenes and endings depending on players' decisions. RE2 didn't have the alternate endings or cutscene paths, but it did have a whopping 4 different campaigns with Leon and Claire, where you play as both in each of the 2 different scenarios. So there's a lot of replay value in these games to go back and see what it's like from another angle. In RE3, it's only 1 campaign, so it's much shorter than its predecessors, although there are alternate cutscenes similar to RE1, more on that later. It also feels like a bit of a retread. It not only takes place during the events of Resident Evil 2, but you actually revisit the police station for a brief period, which is cool and all, and the vast majority of the game takes place in new locations, but most of it takes place in the familiar looking rundown city, which makes it feel like you're playing an extension of Resident Evil 2. You also play as a familiar face, Jill Valentine, which I have 0 complaints about. Jill is awesome, and it's cool to see her POV during the city's outbreak, but it's worth noting while we're on the subject of treading the same ground. Mechanically, there's no reason to fix what's not broken. While the tank controls with fixed cameras may not appeal to everyone, it's still fantastic in creating anxiety and suspense, and there are some additions like the dodge move and the quick 180-degree spin for a faster getaway. You still store your items and ammo in item boxes, use ink ribbons to save your progress, and solve puzzles to gain access to locked away areas or obtain items. I noticed there are a lot more of these mini-game type puzzles this time around, where you have to push certain buttons in the right order or line shit up to match the image like an online capture to confirm you're not a robot. I wouldn't say this is necessarily a good or bad thing, just something that's there. Something new is the use of gunpowder, which can be made into ammo when combined with the reloading tool. But you can also mix certain powders with each other to create a more advanced powder, which will translate to more powerful ammo. There's also a randomizer system in the game where certain items, usually health and ammo, will be in one of 2 different locations, all depending on the randomizer. Same applies to enemies. In some cases, a certain room will have, for example, zombies, or maybe dogs, all depending on the randomizer. This will also apply to certain puzzles, like numeric key codes and shit, so you're never really playing the exact same game every time, and you can't just breeze through it. You have to actually, for example, get the key code where you're supposed to find it. You don't know it right away because it's not the same thing every time. The biggest addition in the game, both literally and figuratively, is the star attraction, the man himself, Nemesis. If you played RE2 and remember the massive Mr. X following you around in the game's B scenarios, you'll get a similar deal with this guy. The big difference here, though, is while Mr. X slowly stalks you, primarily in tight corridors, Nemesis is actually faster than you. And he can open doors and will tail you for a few rooms in a row before you're finally able to lose him. You can stay and fight him, which will award you with weapon parts that you can eventually assemble to a more powerful weapon down the road, but you can never outright kill him until the finale. He's always going to come back, so it's not really worth the health and ammo, and oftentimes you don't have the firepower anyway. The only times I bother is when you're locked into a boss battle with him and you have to. And while these cat and mouse chase situations aren't random, they're specific to certain locations at certain points in the game, it still gives you that adrenaline and suspense to have this motherfucker on your heels, especially when you first play through the game and you have no idea when or where he'll show up. The story is that this Nemesis monster was created by Umbrella to eliminate the remaining STARS members because they knew too much, I guess. So Umbrella's like, hey, let's just incriminate ourselves by developing a 1,500-pound monster whose sole purpose is to murder the one branch of the police department that's onto us. And just to further lay out more evidence, we'll give him the ability to speak, but he'll only be able to say STARS to remind himself of his mission of who he's trying to kill. I gotta say though, as terrifying as Nemesis is, the fact that he talks is pretty goofy, and I find it a bit of a reach that Umbrella has been able to develop this Swiss Army monster that can not only speak, track down very specific people, and operate a fucking rocket launcher within the span of a couple months when this was your bread and butter for biological weapons at the time. Of course, there are zombies. What Resident Evil game wouldn't include them? And since this is during Resident Evil 2's Raccoon City outbreak, it only makes sense. Not much is added in terms of these guys, but there are some slightly faster variants of zombies, and you'll get the occasional dog, spider, and even hunter, who make their return from the first game and show up in the latter portion of this one. Similar to the predecessors, you get a combat buddy, in this case Carlos, an operative sent by Umbrella to apparently rescue hostages and kill the infected. But of course, since Jill knows about Umbrella's bullshit, she's skeptical of working with him and his comrades Mikhail and their leader Nikolai, which is very understandable when Umbrella sends a 1,500-pound monster after you specifically. There are two different difficulty settings, easy and hard, although hard is really the only way to properly play the game. Easy gives you a butt ton of ammo, the enemies take less damage to kill, and you have an infinite amount of ink ribbons. I wouldn't even suggest easy mode for beginners. It strips away the need to conserve resources, which eliminates the entire survival horror aspect which the game is made for. So it's not really an easier version of the game, so much as it is an easier version of a whole different game, a more action-oriented game. And yeah, Resident Evil 3 dips more into the action element than the previous games, but it's still more survival horror than anything. I'd say the easy mode is more useful for when you've already beaten the game and you just want to have a little fun and Steven Seagal your way through it. Beating the game also gives you the fun mini-game, The Mercenaries, where you play as one of the Umbrella operatives and have a certain time limit to get from one end of the city to the other, with zombies and other hazards including Nemesis himself sometimes getting in your way. Of course, there are other bonus goodies too when you beat the game, like alternate costumes and additional weapons, all depending on your rank, which is graded based on how fast you beat the game and how often you save. Going back to the alternate paths I mentioned, in the original RE1, you would see different cutscenes play out that are triggered by certain events, like if you go into a certain room or pick up a certain item at a certain time, and then of course there are multiple endings where certain characters may survive or die depending on what you chose to do. In RE3, you do make decisions that can lead to different outcomes, but these choices are laid out for you in real time, making them interactive cutscenes. The choice you make usually doesn't have any major effects on the plot, but it could put you in a different location within the same area, affect where your next Nemesis encounter is, provide a non-essential item, and in one particular case, alter the ending of the whole game, and even a certain character's fate. So while a lot of these decisions put you back on the same trajectory anyway, it's still cool to see the different variations. At the end of the day, RE3 Nemesis is another home run by Capcom. I do wish there was more content though. After having multiple campaigns with entirely different characters and interactions in the alternate scenarios of the first two games, it makes RE3 feel like there really could have been more meat in the sandwich. But the meat that is there is very succulent, with Nemesis himself playing a huge role in it all. So the game starts out with a montage of some random zombie attacks in Raccoon City with a narration from Jill, lamenting Umbrella's general stranglehold on the city, and the fact that she has to get the hell out of town now that the whole place is zombie infested. And without much in the way of explanation, Jill is thrown through a door from the inside of this building out onto the street. Similar to Resident Evil 2, you want to just avoid these guys at the beginning. Just keep running until you get here, and you'll get a cutscene of Jill avoiding some zombies at the last second before smashing the door open, and Jill takes refuge in this warehouse with this schmuck named Dario, who unfortunately has lost his daughter, and maybe even the rest of his family. Jill tries to reason with him that this place isn't secure, but he insists that he'd rather barricade himself in this trailer and starve to death than get eaten alive, which is a shitty way to go, but I get it. Head around this way to the office, your first save room. Pick up the warehouse key, ink ribbon, and gunpowder A. Reading the manuals will not only turn these into files that you can reference later and save some inventory space, but they'll also explain the gunpowder combinations. You can combine this gunpowder for shotgun shells later, but it's probably a good idea for now to load up on handgun ammo. Dump the ink ribbon, knife, and reloading tool in the box, head back out into the warehouse and get the first aid spray here and the handgun bullets here, and use the warehouse key to open this back door outside. Ditch the key and head down the alley this way. You'll get to this door, and someone who looks vaguely familiar bursts out and runs off from the zombies inside. Kill them and head down the stairs. If you're low on ammo, run past them after knocking them down the first time so you can get the shotgun off this guy's corpse, and then use what's left to blast the zombies on your way back out, because it's a dead end, no pun intended. Grab the lighter oil too, and head back out towards this direction, and grab the green herbs here. Head this way to the door, take out the zombies along your way, climb up here to get a map, and then up here for some more herbs. Stay on the same path, head down here, and you'll see the same guy from earlier blasting zombies as he runs off. Kill, or at least subdue the zombies in front of you so you can get by, and enter the bar where you'll find out the guy shooting at zombies was Brad Vickers, the pilot from Resident Evil 1 that left you to fucking die. At the moment, he's struggling with a zombie. The cutscene ends to give you a chance to save him, but it's not going to affect the outcome either way, so let this play out to save some ammo, because Brad takes him out anyway. Although he's showing some balls here for once, he's still hopeless about survival, saying he is after STARS members, and it's only a matter of time before they both die. He takes off, and you're back in control. Grab the lighter, handgun bullets, and this postcard of the clock tower. How nice. Combine the lighter fluid with the lighter to fill it up, and go back out where you came and continue down the path. And when you reach this pack of zombies, they'll knock down the fence and come after you. Back up, giving yourself some distance behind the oil drum, and when you get to the maximum number of zombies in the vicinity of the drum, shoot it to cause a blast and save yourself some ammo. Keep in mind you don't want to wait for any zombies to get too close to you. If you have to, take out the barrel early. Finish what's left of the wreckage, grab some red herbs back here, and keep going, and you'll reach a door locked with twine. Use the lighter to burn it away, and enter. And here you've got some dogs. If you have a hard time with the handgun here, use the shotgun. Just wait until they get close so you can take them out within a minimum amount of rounds. There's a fire hydrant mounted on the wall here, but you need a hose to put out the nearby fire. For now, go into the save room here, take the gunpowder, and use the reloader tool to turn them into handgun bullets and shotgun shells. Stash away some herbs and the lighter, and head through the door here. Bang a left, and through this next door, you'll arrive at the police station and get a cutscene where Brad gets ambushed by the he that he was mentioned earlier. And of course, the he is Nemesis. Brad is no match for him and gets his head crushed and tossed to the ground like a rag doll. You're now given your first real-time decision. Stay and fight, or run to the police station. There's not a lot of benefit from fighting. Yeah, you'll get a gun piece from Nemesis if you beat him, but you have to do some precise dodging to avoid him, and a lot of shotgun blasts, which you'd need to use most of your gunpowder on. So even if you succeed, your ammo is depleted, health items are probably needed to be used, and all you get to show for is a component of a weapon that you can't use yet. So fuck that, run to the station, and I guess the door here is reinforced because Nemesis can't get through it. Now we're back in the iconic RPD station from Resident Evil 2, but don't get too excited, you're not exploring the whole place. Grab the herbs if you need them, or come back for them later, and grab the map and handgun bullets from here. Head through this door, take out the zombies, and head into Marvin's office. Remember him? He's dead, which is confusing as far as the timeline goes, because Brad literally just died, which means that Leon and Claire haven't been to the station yet, because zombie Brad shows up on your way over there if certain tasks are done. But when Leon gets here later, Marvin is still alive, so is he taking a nap here? Doesn't seem like it. Either way, take his report, which details his struggle to keep the police station in order amidst the outbreak, and his mention of missing gems on the clock at the city's main gate. Take the shells on the desk if there are any here, go through the back door, grab the gem right here, and there's a locked drawer on the other side with a numeric code. We don't have that information yet, so we'll have to come back. Head out this way, take out the zombies here, and head into the save room down yonder. Pick up the gunpowder, ink ribbons, and read David's memo, which covers a man's dealings with zombies before deciding to turn the gun on himself. Head through this door, take out the dogs or zombies, whichever the game decides to hit you with, and enter this room where you might think that the lighter would be used, but actually this would be a paradox because Leon and Claire burn this painting up later on. What you need here is the ink ribbons. Well, you don't need them, but they're here, and if there weren't any shells in Marvin's office before, they're here now. The essential item is the STARS ID card, which is actually another item you can get from Brad's body if you choose to fight Nemesis, which saves you some trouble coming this way. But I still don't recommend the fight. You need to use this on the computer in the main hall, but you can't go back this way. So go back the way you came, use the card, get the passcode, and use it on the drawer to get the STARS key. Now go back to the save room and ditch the STARS ID and ink ribbons, head up the stairs, kill the zombies, go through the door back here, head down this corridor, and use the STARS key to open the STARS office. Grab the first aid spray in this box, the lockpick on the desk, handgun bullets on the desk, and grab the fax from Kendo's gun shop, which details the custom gun he made for the STARS members. In the cabinet, you'll find either the grenade launcher or Magnum. For the purposes of this walkthrough, I'll refer to it as the Magnum since that's the one I found on this playthrough. Before you head out, you'll get an incoming message on the radio from someone named Carlos, who tries to call in for reinforcements for his platoon, but you can't communicate back because the device is fucked up. Even his message is scrambled as shit. You can't advance any farther than this, so go back downstairs and you'll hear a crashing in the distance, which is unsettling to say the least. And after coming back down, your old pal Nemesis crashes through the window, which is an effective jump scare even after you're hinted at it. You can choose to fight him if you want, especially now that you've got a better weapon, but I'd rather save ammo, not to mention health, and run past him. Use the lockpick on this drawer on your way out to get the gunpowder, go back to outside the police station, head this way, and use the lockpick on this door. Head down here and pick up the handgun bullets and diary from this corpse. The diary is written by one of the mercenaries hired by Umbrella, who details his torture at the hands of the company, who originally planned to execute him before changing their minds and sending him on his mission. Turns out he would rather have been executed and decides to finish the job himself, which is grisly to find another of these stories, but hey, it goes with the territory. Head this way, through the door here, and in this nook is a fire hose that's bolted in place. You'll have to come back for it. Head through this door and there'll be a few zombie dogs. Take them down and take the gunpowder from the corpse over here. Head through this door and now you're in the downtown area. Kill another pair of zombie dogs and pick up the power cable off the car here. Head down this way and you'll reach a save room. Grab the ink ribbons and handgun bullets in here and stash the power cable and ink ribbons. Head out the opposite door, kill some more zombie dogs, and head through the next door. Grab the downtown map, and you'll run into the Drain Demos, which are giant fleas heavily mutated from the T-virus. There are also the Brain Suckers, a different variety of the Demos that'll latch onto you and, as their name implies, suck out your brains. They often appear in the same spots the Demoses would have. Blast them with your shotgun preferably, or Magnum if you're out of shells. Once the area is cleared, grab the gunpowder off this corpse, and swinging around this way, you'll find an elevator that needs a battery to run. Head this way and you'll catch a glimpse of a man fighting off a zombie. And here there's an electrified pool of water. It looks like the car crash over here really fucked some shit up. There's a compass in this indentation that reads, "The future is in our hands," but if you take it, then the electrified water will flow out, blocking your path back out, so you'll have to put it back for now. There's another indentation that says, "Place your wisdom here," so something to remember for later. There are some green herbs here. Grab them and head this way to the restaurant. And here you'll find some gunpowder, maybe, and the city guide, which is written by the mayor, boasting about his contributions to the city and glazing umbrella for theirs as well. In the back, there is some leaking gas and a locked cabinet. Use the lockpick to open it and get the fire hook. Use it on this cover here, and the man fighting off the zombie earlier introduces himself as Carlos, the same dude that was calling for support on the radio earlier. He tells Jill that he was sent by Umbrella to save the civilians, which raises red flags for Jill, obviously, but before they can finish exchanging pleasantries, Nemesis shows up. You're given a real-time decision to run into the basement via the door you just opened up, or hide in the kitchen. If you hide in the kitchen, you'll toss a lamp at the leaking gas, which blows up and incapacitates Nemesis for now. And you can grab some weapon parts without having to use up any ammo or health. If you make this decision, then don't go into the basement. There's nothing in here for you, and when you come back out, you'll have to fight Nemesis. He'll awaken anyway when you head for the door, but you're at least closer to the escape. If you make the decision to hide in the basement, Nemesis will burst the water pipe and it'll start flooding, so use the ventilation duct to get out. No matter which decision you make, Carlos will plead his case that he's just a hired hand by Umbrella and not involved with any of their bullshit. Either way, you'll end up outside, and Nemesis will be coming after you. You can stop to fight him or run away. Use your discretion based on health and ammo if you do pick fight over flight. Head down this corridor. There's a save room off to the side here if you need to make some space or want to save. It's a good time to pick up the blue gem, so you might want to make this stop and put away the gun parts. You'll also pick up some shells and a rusty crank. Throw the crank in the item box for now. Head out this way and book it to the newspaper office. Nemesis won't follow you in here just yet. You've got some ink ribbons, a close-up photo of a zombie, and some first aid spray. Push this ladder against the wall here to reach the control panel to turn on the power to the shutter, which you can now open manually. Go up the stairs and into the office for the green gem, and a memo you can read from a journalist covering the early stages of the outbreak. There's also gunpowder on the desk if there wasn't any in the restaurant. After grabbing the gem, Nemesis will now come after you, if he's still following you at this point, and it's claustrophobic as hell, so keep that in mind. Also, going back a bit, if you choose to come to the newspaper office before you go to the restaurant, then the two buildings will reverse roles. You'll meet Carlos here instead and get a decision to either hide in the back when Nemesis shows up, or jump out the window. Hiding will lead to a temporary incapacitation of Nemesis, similar to the lamp explosion deal, and jumping out the window will send you into an alley on the side of the building, which is normally blocked off by a door that's locked from the inside. In this case, the green gem and gunpowder are back at the restaurant, but I like to do the restaurant first due to the more efficient logistics. Once you've gotten both gems, the mechanism outside the main gate is right by the newspaper office. Use them to unlock the gate, which is explained by its closure after hours. At this point, Nemesis will be off your tail if he was chasing you leading up to this. At the fork, take a left, kill the zombies in this corridor, grab the shells off the corpse, go through the next door, grab the green herbs along the linear path, and after the next door, use the barrel to blow up a clusterfuck of zombies on your way to the trolley. The first door is locked from inside, so you'll have to continue around and kill the zombies in front of the back door. Inside, you'll find a mechanic's memo who writes to his new employee about how dependable the old train is, despite also mentioning how it malfunctions and needs regular circuit changes. Examining the engine will reveal some problems with it. It needs a power cable, a fuse, and mixed oil. We already have the power cable, so now we've got to get the other two. In the train, you'll meet Nikolai, the leader of Carlos's platoon, who is surprised that a woman could have survived up to this point. Their teammate Mikhail is wounded and suffering from PTSD. Jill tries to calm him down, but her bedside manner is mixed.
This looks bad. Everything is gonna be okay.
Also, I don't know why Nikolai is the leader when he's a sergeant and Mikhail is a lieutenant. Maybe Nikolai took over after Mikhail's injury. I don't know. Either way, in the back of the trolley, Carlos will convince Nikolai to let Jill assist them, since they're decimated. Although Nikolai is skeptical of trusting her for no real reason. They agree to use the cable car to plow through the city to the clock tower, where a chopper will arrive once they give the signal. So the objective now is to get the oil and fuse. Carlos gives you a little satchel, giving you 2 additional slots in your inventory. Pick up the wrench and go back to the save room just outside the main gate to get the rusty crank. Along the way, this door that you passed by earlier because it was barricaded will burst open with zombies. Take them out and push the button on the statue to get the Book of Wisdom and stash it in the item box when you arrive. Now come back to the fork, take the right path this time, and it'll lead you to the gas station, where you'll have to use the rusty crank to open the shutter, which breaks, but using the wrench will take care of the rest. There may be some gunpowder in here, but either way, Carlos will follow you inside, and when he sees zombies approaching, he runs outside to take care of them. Let him have his fun out there while you try to unlock the storage unit with this button mashing puzzle. The objective is to light up only the letter that's brighter than the other 3, and pushing any given button will change the status of the 2 beside it. Once you get the desired button lit, it will light up one of these 3 lights, and you'll have to do the same for another button. Once you get all 3 lit, the door unlocks and you'll get the machine oil. On your way out, an explosion from the garage goes off thanks to a broken wire, and you'll run into Carlos, who is injured but okay.
I'm not dead yet.
Pick up the red herbs if you have space, because you won't be able to come back here. Because once you start heading back, the whole station blows up. Really, this was just an excuse to render a cool explosion scene. Now it's time for some backtracking. Go all the way back to Uptown, and on your way, you'll get a run-in with some crows that crash through the bus windows. Just keep running, and you'll also encounter more zombies and some demos. Kill them if you have to, but it's not a bad idea to run around the ones where you have space. Now remember that fire hose that was bolted to the wall earlier? Use the wrench to free it, take the hose, discard the wrench, and head back to where that fire hydrant was near the police station. Use the hose and you'll put out the fire and have access to the door back here. Head into another door, grab the crank off the ground here, continue past the demos to the door to the umbrella office. You'll hear gunshots as you enter. And you'll see that Nikolai killed a comrade that was apparently about to turn into a zombie. Pick up the business facts here to read a little order sheet Umbrella filed for some meds to produce the NET type virus. There's a computer on the desk that keeps the storage room locked, but you need the password. After reading the manager's facts on the desk, you'll find out that the password gets updated every time there's a new product shipped. Using the remote control will show a quick little Umbrella ad on the screen. The product that's shown up here is what the password will be. There are a few different combinations depending on the randomizer. Enter the password, and now you can access the storage room. Grab the gunpowder if it's here, otherwise it will have been at the gas station, and grab the oil additive, which you can now combine with the machine oil to get the mixed oil. On your way out, a shitload of zombies will storm the building, and you hear Nikolai screaming in the distance. A pack of them will show up in the room here, blow out the liquid nitrogen pipes nearby when some are about to cross over. They'll save you some ammo when it takes care of at least a few of these fucks. There will be a ton of zombies out in the office too. There's no need to clear the whole place, but you'll want to subdue a few that are in your way so you can get out. Now from here, you have the option of getting some more ammo by turning here on your way back out, and backtracking to the bar and using the crank here to get some grenade rounds. You can also go all the way back where you started, where you'll discover Dario did end up getting overcome by the zombies. There's a bunch of gunpowder in here, but keep in mind, in regard to these optional trips, you do have to contend with a lot of zombies on the way, so take into account how much ammo and health you have before you engage in this. Either way, when you head back past the hydrant, you'll encounter Nemesis again. fight him or get around him and run back to downtown. Just be aware that if you run, you'll have Nemesis chasing you from room to room until you get here, where another whole problem ensues, and a hole just opens up in the ground. As Jill climbs out, some crates from a nearby car come falling towards her, so you gotta make the decision to climb up or jump down. This is one of the less consequential choices you can make. Dropping down just takes you on a slightly different route back to where you're headed anyway, so I'd just climb up. When you get to the save room, make sure you have the Book of Wisdom, stash the crank, and then stop by the electric fountain near the restaurant. Put the book in this indentation so when you grab the compass, the water won't block you. Then bring the compass back to the statue, put it in its hand to get the battery. Now back to before the restaurant to the elevator, use the battery to get it running and take it down. There's a shitload of zombies here, blast them to hell, grab the bullets off this corpse, and keep heading down this path until you get to the substation. The door is locked, but this one isn't. Grab the red herbs, and in here there are several rooms locked up. The transformer here supplies power to the building, so first turn it onto manual mode at this machine, and then operate the transformer. You have to operate the red and blue switches in a 4-button sequence to balance the voltage level. There are a couple different combinations, but red, blue, blue, blue will open up the first room, and blue, blue, red, red opens up the second. The first room has the fuse, and your scavenger hunt for the trolley repair items is now complete. But when you come out of the room, a bunch of zombies are breaking through the fence, and you're given the choice to head to the emergency exit or increase the electricity output. The better choice is definitely upping the power. You fry the bastards, and you can take what's in the second room if you haven't been in there yet, which will be the grenade launcher or magnum if you got the launcher first. Now, if you pick the emergency exit, then you not only miss the second room, but you end up dealing with Nemesis, who blasts some zombies and then engages in battle with you. You'll then have to go back to get the item in the room that you missed, plus Nemesis follows you in there, so yeah, no need unless you want to fight for the parts. Now go back to the trolley and stop by a save room to pick up the mixed oil and power cable if you don't have those on you. On your way back at the fork, your old buddy Nemesis is waiting. Dodge him as he charges you, and move on. When you're almost at the cable car, another hole opens up in the ground, but this time you don't have a choice. You're falling into the underground. In here you'll encounter the Gravedigger, a giant worm that burrows under the ground, and was no doubt the reason you fell into this shit. You're in a short, tight corridor, but thankfully Gravedigger isn't in the room with you. It comes bursting out of the walls. You don't need to kill it, you just need to activate the power to summon the ladder up. First you have to turn on the power, which takes 2 switches, one here and the other on the opposite side. Gravedigger will lunge out at you right as you arrive, so immediately hit the switch when you get in place, and dodge right after you hit it. Do the same with the other switch, and then you have to turn on the ladder. And it's kind of the same deal here. You have very little time to do this unscathed, and this thing deals a lot of damage, so if you don't have health, you gotta time it really well, or blast him with grenades or magnum rounds. After getting up the ladder, you'll finally reach the trolley, and Mikhail will be engaged in a battle with some zombies. He rolls a barrel over and blasts them to hell before collapsing. Jill helps him back into the trolley, and then you'll regain control of Jill. Hook up the cable, fuse, and oil to the engine, and Carlos hops aboard, giving you flame rounds. Jill presumes Nikolai dead after the incident at the Umbrella office, and Carlos starts up the cable car. After the car gets going, you hear some commotion coming out of the back cart. Once you enter, you'll see Nemesis has joined the party. You can fight him, but taking him down just triggers the next event anyway, so you're really just sacrificing health and ammo for no reason. So as soon as you get out here, go back to the door, and Mikhail will force you to the back while he fights Nemesis. You get a cutscene of Mikhail getting tossed around, and he pulls the pin on a grenade to blow up the car, sacrificing himself in the process, but taking Nemesis down with him. You'll get a real-time decision to make here as the car is crashing. Either pull the emergency brake, or jump out the window. Either way, the cable car ends up crashing in the same spot. I guess the e-brake just doesn't work, or maybe Jill doesn't hit it in time. They don't actually show her pull the brake in the cutscene, so maybe, I don't know. Either way, you'll arrive at the clock tower, but the choice you make will dictate your starting point while exploring the place, and it will also dictate a slight difference in a boss battle later on, but we'll get into that later. If you hit the brake, you'll start out in front of the clock tower, which is the path I'm going to showcase. The main door to the building out front is locked from the outside, so go in this side door, and get stepping so you don't get bit by any crows. From here, there's a save room in this door. You'll find some gunpowder, maybe, and the winter key. When you come out, a shitload of zombies come crashing through the windows. Quickly run to the door on the other side, which you'll use the winter key to unlock, and you'll run into Carlos, who complains about how Umbrella's not gonna send a chopper to save them, even though he was totally on board with this plan 15 minutes ago. Jill bitch slaps him for giving up, and he storms out like a child. Grab the grenade rounds and head through these doors to the main hall of the clock tower. Grab the mine thrower from the corpse, and he'll also have the operation instruction, which was given to the Umbrella platoon leaders to ring the bell at the clock tower as a signal for the chopper. There's also a clock tower map and a first aid spray on the desk here. In the far corner is a music box that's playing a tune with a melody that's out of whack. Now go through the door opposite the one you came from, and there'll be small spiders crawling around the floor. Move quickly through here. Grab the postcard on the bookshelf here with 3 clocks on it, an ink ribbon in the drawer, and a door that's locked with the God of Time inscribed on it. Head into the other door in the room, and you'll get to another save room. The door on the other side leads to a room in the back, and this is where you would have started from if you jumped out the window. Behind this picture is the bezel key. If you didn't find the gunpowder in the chapel save room, then it'll be here instead. Now go back to the main hall, up the stairs, and you'll hear Nemesis roaring on your way up. Head down the linear path to the door on the other side. Just move fast so the giant spiders on the ceiling don't drop their venomous shit on you. There are some blue herbs in the main hall, in case you need it though. There's a switch to turn on the spotlight here, but that doesn't seem to do anything of note. And on the other side are some red herbs. Grab them and use the bezel key in this indentation to get the ladder to come down and climb up to the 3rd floor. There's a silver key on the shelf and some ink ribbons. There's also either gunpowder or mine thrower rounds. There's also an item box and typewriter so you can rearrange your inventory or save your progress. In the back are some gears with one missing. Use the silver gear, although it's not complete, because the gear still won't turn. Something's not right. Speaking of which, there's another music box up here, and it plays the same song as the one in the main hall, except it actually plays it in tune. But then you'll have to match said melody with the dial here. There are 6 switches lettered A through F, all of which have 2 settings, either up or down. Pressing the switch will play a short portion of the melody. One of them is right, and the other is out of tune. You have to string together each of these 6 switches to play the right notes, with either up or down chosen on each. The combination is random, so you'll have to listen to each one and select accordingly. It's pretty easy to tell which one sounds like ass. After completing it, you'll get the Chronos chain, which you can combine with the Winder key to make the Chronos key. On your way back out, you'll meet back up with Nemesis, in a real-time decision. Either use the light or use the cord. Jill will either unplug the cord from the light and toss it in the water to electrocute Nemesis, and using the light will blind him, sending him off the edge to the ground below. If you electrocute him, he'll bounce right back up after you leave the room, and he'll be following you all over the fucking clock tower. You do get a weapon part from him, but if you're not collecting these, you're better off just blinding him and postponing your meetup with him. Go back downstairs to the God of Time door, unlock it with the Chronos key, and discard it. And make sure you have 3 inventory slots available before going in. If you've got more spiders in here, run past them quickly, and in the next room is a dead Umbrella mercenary who details his hellish journey in the diary you'll find on his corpse. There are 3 paintings with clocks embedded into each. On the opposite side are 3 statues, each holding a ball: the amber ball, obsidian ball, and crystal ball. Grab all 3 of them, and you have to put each one in one of the 3 trays each clock has. There's a past, present, and future tray. This puzzle is fucking inane. The goal is to get the center clock to read 12 o'clock. To do that, you need to place the 3 balls in each tray in a different combination to get each of the clocks to change their hands. The starting point is random, so there's no fixed solution, and each ball actually has a different value depending on which tray you put it in. It's maddening to explain and even more maddening to listen to, so I suggest just fucking keep trying different combinations until you get it right. Once you do, the center clock will fall off the wall and reveal the gold gear. In the back of the room is a giant bell blocking your path to the back. Jill is unable to move it. So go back up to the top of the clock tower, combine the gold gear with the silver gear to form the Chronos gear, which when placed in the open gear slot, turns the gears just fine and the bell starts ringing. This is a good place to save the game too, by the way. Go back downstairs and you'll get a cutscene of the chopper coming to rescue you, only to find Nemesis there too, shooting down the chopper with his rocket launcher. Apparently Nemesis is a lot smarter than he looks. He'll also inject Jill with one of his tentacles, and Carlos comes back to save the day and get some redemption for whining earlier. But despite his valiant effort, Nemesis subdues him, and it's a one-on-one battle between the two of you. So if you jumped out the window of the cable car, Nemesis will be his regular form with the rocket launcher, and if you use the brake, he'll use the tentacle attack. Both of these attacks have range, so keep your distance, run off to the side if he tries one of these attacks, and hit and run. Use the mine thrower, grenade launcher, or magnum. You don't have the most space in the world to work, but it's not the most claustrophobic area you've encountered Nemesis in so far. But he's a pain in the ass. He's quick, so you won't have a lot of time to get multiple hits in. Just hit and run one shot at a time, maybe two if you're lucky, and move. After getting enough shots in, Nemesis will collapse into the fire in the corner, and Jill will collapse on the ground, infected by the virus Nemesis just administered to her. Carlos comes to her rescue, bringing her back to the chapel save room. Jill is reeling from her infection, and she knows it. Carlos vows to take care of her, and now you assume control of him, along with his sexy assault rifle. Head out and back to the clock puzzle room. Remember the bell you couldn't push earlier as Jill? You can push it now as Carlos. Keep in mind you will have to deal with some newly arrived zombies and shit along the way, but it's nothing you can't handle. This leads to a back door outside, where you'll find a small group of zombies. Save some ammo by taking out as many as you can with the exploding barrel with the handgun blast. Don't forget you have this weapon too for smaller projects. The door is locked with a simple lock, and the door to the park over here is also locked, so head this way to the hospital. You'll get a cutscene where a zombie comes walking around the corner and a fucking hunter pops out of nowhere and decapitates it. Jeez, I forgot about these assholes. Like in RE1, they're quick, they take a decent amount of damage, and can cut your head off if you're standing still with one quick swipe, so be careful. Hopefully you haven't blown your wad with the assault rifle, cause it really comes in handy against these guys. There are some red herbs on the floor here, and then enter the save room. There's an ink ribbon, first aid spray, and of course an item box and typewriter for saving and storage purposes. Go into the next room and you'll find a blue herb on the shelf, some handgun bullets in the locker, a map of the hospital on the wall, a tape recorder on the desk, and a director's diary on this corpse, which covers the physical effects of the T-virus as documented by the hospital staff. There's an elevator in the corner that's locked via voice recognition. Use the tape recorder, which plays back a recording of a doctor presumably, and it unlocks. You get 2 floors to choose from, 4th floor or 3rd floor basement. Not sure why the others don't work, or how Carlos knows the important shit is only on these 2 floors, but whatever. You can explore either one before going to the other, but it will affect which cutscene you'll end up seeing. Let's start with the basement. There may be a pack of zombies when you first get out. If not, you will be guaranteed to see this pack on one of the 2 floors when you get back out. It's random. Head down the corridor to the next room where you'll meet up with Tyrell, a fellow mercenary who claims Nikolai is a traitor and shot him. He opens up the safe in the wall which has an explosive in it and detonates, killing him. Seems like this was done to prevent whoever reached this area from collecting documents or some shit, but there's nothing more for you to pick up here, so I don't know. There may be some green herbs and handgun bullets in here. If not, they're on the 4th floor. In the next room, you'll find some gamma hunters and some kind of suspended animation inside the tanks. What kind of hospital was this? Oh yeah, Umbrella runs this town. Anyway, there's a file on the desk that just explains you need to use the synthesizer to get the vaccine. First, grab the medium base off the shelf here. Hit the lever here to turn on the power while also draining the tanks of hunters. Put the medium base in the synthesizer, and now you've got some switches to balance the power. Turn on numbers 1, 3, and at the bottom A. It will spit out the vaccine medium, but you still need a vaccine base to get the final vaccine. When you take it, the hunters will burst out of the tanks and try to kill you. Quickly get the hell out of here. They're not quite as deadly as the regular hunters, but these guys are no pushovers either. Now go up to the 4th floor and you'll run into a corridor with several doors. 2 together down this turn and 1 at the end. Go into the one in the back and you'll have a pair of hunters to deal with. Mow them down, and in this room you'll find a picture of some zombies to add to your collection and the sick room key. Also, if you didn't find bullets downstairs, they'll be in here too. Going back to the first 2 doors on this floor, in the first room there's a corpse with a number written on a slip. Take note of that number, you'll need it in a bit. There are either zombies or sliding worms in this room. Shoot the zombies or run past the worms. If you didn't get green herbs in the basement, you'll find them in here. Another thing you'll want to take note of is this sliding cart, namely which corner of the room it's in. The next room is the sick room, which you'll unlock with your newly acquired key and discard it. In here you'll find another sliding cart like in the neighboring room. There's a miscolored tile in each of the 4 corners. What you need to do is push this cart into the same position as the cart in the neighboring room while assuming the mirror image. So if it's in this corner in the first room, then you need to push it into this corner in the sick room. It'll open up a hidden safe in the wall with a numbered lock. Enter the 3-digit code you got earlier from the dead doctor, which will give you the vaccine base, which you can combine with the vaccine medium to get the vaccine. Now to bring this back to Jill, but of course you're going to have to deal with some shit. In this case, more hunters in the hall on your way out, which will be the case in the basement too if you got these items in reverse order. When you get to the lobby out front, a timer-based bomb is set to go off in 6 fucking seconds. Run to the door. If you get out in time, you'll get a cutscene of the hospital exploding as Carlos takes cover. It's quick to get to the door, so the only thing that can fuck you up is if you forget which side of the room the door is in. Head back to the clock tower, and when you cross through the main hall, Nemesis will appear in his tentacled form. Stay and fight if you want to wear down Nemesis a bit for Jill for later. You're not going to be able to hand over any of your items to Jill anyway, so it's not a bad idea. But if you get close to dying, get the fuck out of there. When you do get to Jill, he'll administer the vaccine, and Jill wakes up, feeling much better. They lament the fact that Nemesis is still alive, and not to mention Nikolai. And then they inexplicably split up again, even though Nemesis is right on their asses. So now do some re-racking in the item box, and make sure you have the lockpick. Head out the back door as if you were going to the hospital, and you'll be able to unlock this door with the lockpick. This is another save room with an ink ribbon replenishment, a photo of some zombies, and some mine thrower rounds and or grenade rounds. There's also the main gate key, which you'll need momentarily. Put the lockpick back in the box, and head back around to the park gate, unlocking it with your new key, which you can discard. In the main area of the park, you've got either some sliding worms or hunters. Blast the hunters or run past the worms. Heading through the door over here will set you on a path with some zombies or gamma hunters that pop out of the water. Eliminate them either way. Through the next door you're going to get either hunters or dogs. Keep in mind there's an explodable barrel nearby. This path will lead to a locked door, but there are some key items being held onto by some of these dead folk, like the magnum rounds, the graveyard key, and an order to supervisors, a file that implicates Umbrella with using their mercenaries as guinea pigs for combat data, and that the hospital was ordered to be destroyed. Gee, I wonder which Umbrella supervisor did this. Now go back out to the front and head through the door on the other side, and you'll find some green and blue herbs on the floor here as well as a map of the park. This way is a fountain, and you'll need to drain the water to advance. To do so, you'll need to match the pattern of the gears here, and you can only make 6 adjustments per turn or the lid closes and the gears magically reset and you have to start all over. Once you drain the fountain, hop in and head down the ladder over here. Run past the sliding worms and go up the ladder here. Now you're in a graveyard, where zombies will rise from their graves, which contradicts what was reported earlier by this so-called journalist that claims the T-virus wasn't airborne. So if that's the case, how the hell are these already dead people getting infected? Head down this way for a red herb, and take the path down yonder to the door here, which will unlock with the graveyard key. Discard it. There's a save room in the back where you can re-rack your shit if you need to make space and, of course, save your game, which you're going to want to do before you venture back out. Throughout the room, you've got an iron pipe and gunpowder on the table. Use the lighter in the fireplace to burn all the excess firewood away. Discard the lighter as it's no longer useful, and then use the iron pipe to open up the secret room. Head in to grab the ink ribbons, grenade rounds, and rear gate key. There are a couple files here to read too. The supervisor's report, which details some more of the guinea pig plan and the specific mentioning of Nemesis, as well as the facts from headquarters, which orders all supervisors to evacuate. There's a radio off in the corner that only receives messages, and you'll hear a message come through on your way out ordering all supervisors to leave. When you come back out, Nikolai will be there, and he'll confirm that he was sent to collect battle data, and he takes off as the place starts shaking. Make sure you bring some heavy firepower before you head out. The ground will shake, and the gravedigger will emerge for the for real showdown. The last one was simply foreplay. It will go underground and pop out for attacks. Watch for the dirt that gets kicked up. That's where it's hanging out. When it gets close to you, be ready to turn the other way to give you some distance to attack, and then run to get yourself into a new position. Keep this going until it's dead, and this gate will conveniently fall into place as a makeshift ladder to escape. On the way back, you may end up with worms still, but there could be spiders in here as well. Just keep running either way, and you'll end up back in the fountain. From here, go back to the locked gate in the back from earlier and use the rear gate key to unlock it, and discard the key. You'll end up crossing a bridge where Nemesis shows up again, and you'll get a real-time decision, which turns out to be one of the more crucial choices in terms of plot. Your options are either to push him off the bridge or jump off. Either way, you won't have to fight Nemesis right now, he's out of your way. But this will decide where you start exploring the next area, the factory, and it will impact some cutscenes later. Jumping off might give you an extra boss battle, depending on a decision that you make later, but it will also give you an added Easter egg during the ending. So I'll mainly follow that path, but I'll mention the differences to pushing Nemesis off the bridge as we get there. Climb up here and take the ladder up, and bang a right to the save room. There's ink ribbons, a water sample, and a security manual which details some of the security measures of the factory. Head down this way and in this room for a first aid spray and maybe some gunpowder. If not, it'll be up on the second floor. Head over to this machine that balances the water quality. You have to line up the 3 rows so that the columns stack up to match the picture. The bars going down the column will add up, so if all 3 have a bar, then that row is 3 high. If it's all spaces, then it's a blank space, and so on and so forth. The notes on the board here tell you to watch for the portions with no wave. Essentially, that's the strategy you want to implement. Get each row so that all the blank spaces match up with that particular row, and move on to the next one. That should be enough to figure it out, but if not, then it should just be some minor adjustments after that and you're good. Head back out and continue down the path, and you'll get ambushed by a few zombies, prompting Carlos to lend you another hand. He confirms that the city is going to be wiped out by a nuke, so the plan is to get the hell out, and you split up again. Head through this door, and you'll end up in a room with either naked zombies, demos, brain suckers, or hunters. Clear them out, keeping in mind that there's an exploding barrel here you can use to make them go kablooey. Grab the shells and take the elevator up. Kill the zombies and grab the map of the factory here, some green herbs, and the system disc. When you go through this door, you'll run into Nikolai, who is so happy to see you, he tries to kill you and seals off this door, so we can't go in there just yet. This door here leads back to the bridge, which is where you would start your journey in the factory if you pushed Nemesis off the bridge. If you jumped off, there's no need to go this way, so head this way for a save room. Do some herb mixing, reshuffling of your inventory, save the game, and grab the facility key, first aid spray, ink ribbon, gunpowder if it wasn't in the previous save room, and manager's diary, which details some of the human experiments that have taken place here. Go through the other door in this room, and in here there are streams of steam blocking your path, which you can turn off with the nearby switches. The problem is, turning one off also turns another one on, which actually sounds like a personal problem. First hit this switch, then this one, then come back and hit this one. Now you can get back here for this switch, hit this one again to get back out, then back here again, hitting this one, and then finally the one on the end. Once you get to the control panel, you'll unlock a door back in this room. Head back there, head through said newly unlocked door, and if you push Nemesis off the bridge earlier, you'll get a cutscene here where Nikolai gets into a shootout with you, confessing that he not only is getting paid for collecting combat data, but he's also collecting a bounty for Jill's head, which seems unnecessary if you're confident in Nemesis' abilities. Which is further proven to be the case when Nemesis decides to just scoop up Nikolai and eviscerate him. If you jumped off the bridge, Nikolai is still alive at this point, and you'll need to use the system disk here to unlock the next room. You'll meet Nemesis in here, and during the cutscene, it's hinted that the steam pipes can be targeted to blow hot steam into his face and hurting him. You can pull this off by luring him in your general direction, and hitting the lever with either a well-aimed blast with your gun, or if you bring the combat knife in advance, hit it directly, which will save you ammo, and it's more accurate anyway. You just gotta hit it before he gets to you and hope that he'll make it to you before the steam runs out. Of course, you can also beat him the old-fashioned way by shooting his ass, but you want to keep a decent distance, because that damn tentacle attack will be out in full force. Thankfully, this is a wide open area, so you have room to work with and can usually see where he is. Keep in mind that this fight is time limit based. You have 4 minutes to kill Nemesis and get out, or you're fucked. Once you finish him off, all the commotion will cause a card key to conveniently fall off a nearby corpse. Grab it, head out, and you'll get the PA voice person announcing the missile strike is coming and the end is near. Head back to the shutter door that Nikolai closed off. You'll have to fight some new zombies along the way, but when you get there, use the card key to unlock it. You also might want to hit up the save room to retool. Grab the green herbage along the way, and if Nikolai is still alive at this point, he'll show up in the chopper, and this is where he'll essentially have the same conversation he had with you in the shootout in the other path. He tries to finish you off with the chopper, and you get a real-time decision to either fight him or negotiate with him. If you negotiate, he spares your life, but takes off in your getaway chopper. If you fight, you'll take control of Jill and have to take him down. Dodge his missiles and fire right when you get an opening. Just be ready to run again to get out of the way of fire. The grenade rounds are your best option here. After getting enough shots in, you'll take him down, presumably killing Nikolai while also destroying your getaway ride. Carlos shows up either way, and things are looking pretty grim since neither of you know how you're gonna escape, but he encourages Jill to keep trying at least. That smack in the face really knocked some sense into him. He messes around with the radio while you exit down the ladder. At this point, the missile attack is incoming, and you get a view of the transmitter that shows how close the missile is. At least it's not another self-destruct escape. If you don't fight Nikolai, Carlos will communicate with you by the radio, telling you to pick up the transmitter, and things are looking much better here because the chopper is intact. When you get down, there'll be an item box. Grab all the health and weapons you can. The most powerful shit takes priority here, but I would say health more so than weapons. There's also some shells and an incinerator manual which explains the process of loading up the 3 batteries to get the incinerator working. There are a couple zombies playing dead in here, so watch your step, or waste them with some weapons that you're not bringing and dump it back in the item box. In here you'll find the dead tyrant from the first game. I thought he was blown up in the canon version of events. Or is this just a copy of the same model? Whatever. You've now got to charge up this massive railgun, which is odd because there's nothing to fight in here, right? Head over to the control panel to turn on the power, and then you've got to push these batteries into place. There are 3 of them, and they're all numbered. You've got to push them all into place in numerical order, 1 is down here, 2 is over here this way, but uh-oh, here's Nemesis. And at this point, he's mutated to unrecognizable form. I guess it's a good thing you didn't start charging up that big old railgun for nothing. You've got to set up the rest of the railgun, pushing battery number 2 and then 3, but of course you've got to deal with your old buddy Nemesis the whole time. He'll spit acid or excrete it in some weird ass fashion. Keep your distance. You never want to be near him because he'll slam your ass into the ground. Your conventional weapons are really just there to keep him at bay. What you need to do to kill him is to lure him over to where the railgun will fire. Eventually it boots up and starts a countdown to when it will shoot. He'll follow you around, so shoot him whenever you want to slow him down some, and try to time it so that he walks into this area when the countdown starts getting low. Fire continuously when he's right in the line of fire, and when the railgun goes off, it'll need a moment to recharge before it can fire again, and you'll get another countdown when that happens, so you'll be able to know it's coming. After a couple hits with the railgun, he'll blow up, and the railgun goes into cooldown mode. When you head out to the exit, one last small glob of Nemesis is still crawling after you. You get one final real-time decision to either exterminate the monster or head for the exit. The extermination option will play back a cutscene of Jill finishing off Nemesis once and for all with her magnum, leaving Nemesis in a gooey pool of blob. Heading for the exit will play back the same cutscene at the end either way, so the only reason really to leave would be if you were extremely low on time, or you just wanted to show some temporary mercy. And I say temporary because once you get on the chopper with Carlos and take off, the nuke comes and sends Raccoon City to complete fucking oblivion. So even if you leave Nemesis alive, he's dead at this point anyway. It's just way more satisfying for Jill to personally end this bastard. If you push Nemesis off the bridge, the chopper will already be there and Carlos flies it, so no problemo there. If you jumped off the bridge, then Carlos shows up to tell you that a second chopper, piloted by someone looking specifically for Jill, shows up. And it turns out that the person looking for Jill was Barry Burton from the original Resident Evil. Although they don't explicitly confirm it in the scene, it's Barry. The town is completely wiped off the map, and in an epilogue, it's noted that Jill is off to find Chris and put an end to Umbrella. So that wraps up Resident Evil 3, and that wraps up the original Resident Evil PlayStation 1 trilogy. Resident Evil 4 wouldn't come about until 2005, but the next main entry in the series was Resident Evil Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, but we'll talk about that another time. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.